Anthony, hello, how are you?
Hi, Frida. I'm very well, thanks. And you?
It's a nice sunny Monday morning, so that'll do. That'll do.
Excellent. That's good.
Congratulations on the film. I've got to say it's really delightful, and it's based on the story by Paul Gallico. I wondered what it was about the book that made you feel that there was a film in there.
I've been a lifelong Paul Gallico fan. I first fell in love with a children's book of his called Jenny, which I read when I was a little boy, and went on to read many of his books, but hadn't come across the Mrs. Harris series, interestingly. And when I ended up signing with a manager in LA, he also represented the Paul Gallico estate, which was something that appealed to me. So it was actually he who sent me the script in the first place, a script that had been developed previously. And I was immediately drawn to this incredibly charming character, this irresistibly charming character, and her impossible adventure. But the first thing that really struck me was that because my father had moved to Paris when I was 7 years old, I felt I could really do justice to the French elements of the story. And I was somewhat frustrated seeing the efforts of others making films about France and Paris, which I didn't find very convincing. So I just thought I can do this. And there began a very long journey.
And it's a very positive, happy story, despite all the problems that Mrs. Harris has. And it made me think that actually at the moment we seem to have a clutch of films that are escapism, if you like. And in fact, Lucas, who's in Mrs. Harris, is also in one of the others, which is Ticket to Paradise. Why do you think escapist films are so popular at the moment?
It's a very natural reaction to what's happening in the world today. I think when you have periods of great economic stability and political stability, you have these profound films that examine your psyche and go into very dark places. And now we're experiencing a period of tremendous tumult. We have the war in Ukraine, we have global warming, we have political instability, economic instability. And I think people want nothing more than to have a couple of hours off from all of those troubles and just escape into another world.
And Lesley Manville is lovely in the role. And of course, it's not the first time she's been in a film where she's been in the world of haute couture either, because of course she was in Phantom Thread. This time her character is very different though. Why did you want her for the role?
I think Lesley is one of the greatest actresses living today. Her role in Phantom Thread, for which she was Oscar nominated, was absolutely a revelation to me. But then I went on to watch her in a BBC series called Mum, where she plays a character who's completely different. She's a warm, rather put upon working class character. And it was really Mum that convinced me that she would understand Ada and bring something completely different to that character than the character she plays in Mum. She is such a versatile actress. She disappears into everything that she does. And it's a rare thing when the tendency is for actors to have a kind of brand and then present that brand in everything they do. Lesley is one of those rare actresses who has the courage to be very, very different from film to film. And that's what turns her on as a performer and as an artist.
So you directed the film, you co-wrote it, you produced it, and I gather in the past as well, you've done things like being a music supervisor and a cinematographer and an editor. And in fact, I think perhaps the only thing you haven't done is act in front of the camera.
Oh, but you're wrong there.
I was going to ask, have you done that too?
Yes. No, my first dream was to be an actor. But I very quickly realized that that doesn't necessarily put you in charge of your fate, and that you're generally waiting for things to come to you rather than creating things and making them happen. And although I have to confess that my initial instinct when I started writing was to write things for myself, I didn't ultimately find acting was really where my where my passion lay. I was much more excited working with actors and drawing out their performances. And I just don't think I would have been good enough, really. I think you should pursue the thing that you do best. And in my case, it wasn't acting.
You belong behind the camera, obviously. Anthony, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
It's been a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you.